Drama. Love.
I can still forget you.
Then why did you forget her?
Dear baby. Good morning, Mom Baby, and to all our listeners. I'm excited to share my story to all of you, especially on your station. My name is Soledad, Pedro Buhay's second wife. We live in a farm. Even though our farm produces plenty, I still have the feeling of discontentment. So, I decided to mend some of my husband's shirt, which is placed in a locked trunk. Husband keeps the small key, while the other one is on me, which is the large one. The small key seems to be very important to Pedro. I can see it all in his actions. I was so confused that day that tempts me to make a move, resulting that the key that he kept is for the small trunk that belongs to her first wife. It slaps my face that he do really love his first wife up until now. So, I ask myself, what if this thing ruins our relationship? So, I did something bad and later on he finds out what I did and leads to misunderstanding. But my love for him still remains. It was very warm. The sun up above a sky that was blue and tremendous and beckoning to birds ever on the wing, shone bright as if determined to scorch everything under heaven. Even the low, square nipa house that stood in an unashamed relief against the gray-green haze of grass and leaves. It was lonely dwelling located far from its neighbors, which were huddled close to one another as if for mutual comfort. It was flanked on both sides by tall, slender bamboo tree, which rustled plaintively under a gentle wind. On the porch, a woman past her early 20s stood regarding the scene before her with eyes made incurious by its familiarity. All around her, the land stretched endlessly. It seemed and vanished into the distance. There were dark, newly plowed furrows where in due time, timorous seedling would give rise to sturdy stalks and golden grain, to a rippling yellow sea in the wind and sun during harvest time. Promise of plenty and reward for hard toil, with a sigh of discontent. Afternoon, lunchtime.
Where are the shirts I ironed yesterday?
In my trunk, I think.
Some of them need darning. Do you want some more rice?
No, I am in a hurry to get back. We must finish plowing the south field today because tomorrow is Sunday.
From the pocket of his khaki coat, he pulled a string of nondescript thread which held together a big shiny key and another small, rather rusty-looking one.
Here is the key to my trunk.
With deliberate care, he untied the knot and, detaching the big key, dropped the small one back into his pocket. I watched him fixedly as he did this. The smile left her face and the strange look came into her eyes as she took the big key from him without a word. Out of the porch, he put an arm around on my shoulders and peered into my shadowed face.
Ah, you look pale and tired. What have you been doing all morning?
Nothing. But the heat gives me a headache.
Then lie down and try to sleep while I am gone.
For a moment, we looked deep into each other's eyes.
Hey, it is really warm. I think I will take off my coat. Choreng, I shall pass by Tia Maria's house and tell her to come. I may not return before the dark. Okay?
Okay, sure.
I love you.
I love you too.
I nodded. My eyes followed my husband down the road, noting the fine set of his head and shoulders, the case of his stride. I looked at the coat he had handed to me. It exuded a faint smell of his favorite cigars, one of which he invariably smoked. As I was doing smoke, a small object fell from the floor with a dull metallic sound. I stooped down to pick it up. It was the small key. I stared at it in her palm as if she had never seen it before. My mouth was tightly drawn, and for a while I looked almost old. I passed into the small bedroom and tossed the coat carelessly on the back of a chair. I opened the window and the early afternoon sunshine flooded in. On a mat spread on the bamboo floor were some newly washed garments. I started to fold them one by one in feverish haste, as if seeking in the task of the moment and refuge from painful thoughts. But my eyes moved restlessly around the room until I rested almost furtively on a small trunk that was half concealed by a rolled mat in a dark corner. It was a small old trunk, without anything on the outside that might arouse one's curiosity, but it held the things I had come to hate with unreasoning violence, the things that were causing me so much unnecessary anguish and pain and threatened to destroy all that was most beautiful between me and my husband.
What is inside of this trunk? No, it's not. I'm just thinking wrong.
So I came across a torn garment and I treated a needle, but after a few uneven stitches, I pricked my finger and a crimson drop stained the white garment. Then I saw that I had been mending on the wrong side.
Ouch! What is the matter with me? She is dead anyhow. She is dead. She is dead. She is dead anyhow. She is dead. She is dead.
The sound of my own voice calmed me. I tried to treat the needle once more, but I could not. Not for the tears had come unbidden and completely blinded to me.
My God. Make me forget in those face as he put the small key back into his pocket.
I brushed my tears with the sleeves of my kamisa and abruptly stood up. The heat was stifling and the silence in the house was beginning to be unendurable. I looked out of the window. I wondered what was keeping Tia Maria. The people of the barrio, whose patron saint San Isidro Labrador smiled on them with benign eyes from his crude altar in the little chapel up the hill. This season was a prolonged hour during which they were blind and dead to everything but the demands of penance. Choleng? Choleng! 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 Choleng, wake up!
What happened?
I think you need a rest. During the next half hour, I wandered in and out of the rooms in effort to seek escape from my own thoughts and to fight down an overpowering impulse. If Tia Maria would only come and talk to her to divert her thoughts to other channels. But the expression on my husband's face as he put the small key back into his pocket kept torturing me like a nightmare, goading beyond endurance. Then, with all resistance to the impulse gun, I was kneeling before the small trunk. With a long drawn breath, I inserted the small key. There was an unpleasant metallic sound, for the key had not been used for a long time and it was rusty. That evening, my husband hurried home with the usual cigar dangling from his mouth, pleased with himself and the tenants because the work in the Southfield had been finished. Tia Maria met him at the gate and told him that I'm sick.
Pedro, Soledad was in bed with a fever.
What? Soledad, my love, are you okay? I shall go to the town and bring Dr. Santos.
Don't, Indo. Because the town was pretty far and the road was dark. I shall be alright tomorrow.
Are you sure?
Yes.
My husband returned an hour later, very tired and very worried. As far as I know, the doctor was not at home, but his wife promised to give him Pedro's message as soon as he came in.
Pedro, I decide to remain for the night. Is that okay?
But it was Pedro who stayed up to watch sick women, and it's me. He was puzzled and worried. More than he cared to admit it, it was true that I did not look very well early that afternoon. Yet, he thought the fever was rather sudden. He was afraid it might be a symptom of a serious illness.
Sure, Tia Maria. You can stay here in this night. Thank you.
I was restless the whole night. I tossed from one side to another. Toward morning, I fell into some sort of troubled sleep. Pedro then lay down to snatch a few winks. He woke up to find the soft morning sunshine streaming through the half-open window. He got up without making any noise. I was still asleep and now breathing evenly. Tia Maria was nowhere to be seen, but that did not bother him, for it was Sunday and the work in the Southfield was finished. However, I missed the pleasant aroma which came from the kitchen every time, so I had awaked early in the next morning. The kitchen was neat but cheerless, and an immediate search for wood brought no results. So, shouldering an axe, Pedro descended the rickety stairs that led to the backyard. The morning was clear and the breeze soft and cool. My husband Pedro took in a deep breath of air. It was good. It smelled of trees, of the rice fields, of the land he loved.
It was a good day.
the trees, the rice fields. I love this land.
He found a pile of logs under the young mango tree near the house and began to chop. He swung the axe with rapid, clean sweeps, enjoying the feel of the smooth wooden handle in his palms. As he stopped for a while to mop his brow, his eyes caught the remnants of a smudge that had been built in the backyard.
Ah, she swept the yard yesterday after I left her. That coupled with the heat must have given her a headache and then the fever.
The morning breeze stirred the ashes and a piece of white cloth fluttered into view.
It was a half-burned panuelo. Somebody had been burning clothes.
He examined the slightly ruined garment closely.
Wait, what? No way! This is not happening.
A puzzled expression came into his eyes. First, it was doubt groping for truth, then amazement, and finally, agonized incredulity passed across of my husband's face. He almost ran back to the house. In 3 strides, he was upstairs. He found his coat hanging from the back of a chair. Cautiously, he entered the room. The heavy breathing of me told him that I was still asleep. As he stood by the small trunk, a vague distaste to open it assailed to him. Surely he must be mistaken. She could not have done it. She could not have been that foolish. Resolutely, he opened the trunk. It was empty.
Where is it?
It was nearly noon when the doctor arrived.
Ingo, where is your wife Chole?
Here, Doc. She's sick.
Chole, are you really okay? Her pulse is okay.
I don't know, Doc.
My husband stood by listening to the whole procedure with an inscrutable expression on his face.
I think she's okay. There's nothing was really wrong with your wife, although she seemed to be worried about something.
Ah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Santos.
You're welcome.
Pedro lingered on the porch after the doctor left. He was trying not to be angry with me. He hoped it would be just an interlude that could be recalled without bitterness. I would explain sooner or later. I would be repentant. Perhaps I would even listen and eventually forgive her. I was young and he loved me, but somehow he knew that this incident would always remain a shadow in their lives.
Choleng, I have a question. Why did you burn it?
I didn't burn anything.
You burned the clothes.
Whose clothes?
My first wife's clothes.
Then why are you still keeping her clothes then?
Cause I can still forget her.
Then why don't you still forget her?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yes, I don't know.
It's because you still love her.
No. No. She's a part of my past. and I treasure our memories. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You are the reason why I'm still living. Until life next, I'll keep on loving you. I love you, Soledad.
First love never dies, for my husband's belief, and I trust him now, is a better compliment than I love you, because you may not always trust the person you love, but you can always love the person you trust. Thank you, Ma'am Baby, for reading my star in your station. Thank you.